Enzo Ferrari believed for a long time that his cars should all be front-engine V12s. However, that all changed with the introduction of the mid-engine six-cylinder Dino in 1967. Shortly after came the hugely successful 308 series, which was the start of Ferrari's transition to mid-engine V8s, a tradition that lasts to this day. Ferrari is always evolving and creating more powerful machines with each new model released, and the 488 Pista is no exception. It is the most powerful V8 in Ferrari's history and is coveted by enthusiasts worldwide. Ferrari has a habit of introducing a new model, and then by the time the model is coming to an end of production, they will make a specialized version, a tailor-made exclusive version that is a little better, a little faster, many improvements over the base model, and the 488 Pista is that for the 488 series. They reduced the weight, they improved the power, they made it very track focused to make it kind of like the Challenge Stradale or for 458 Speciale, where it's that limited edition run of a certain car. And for the 488 Pista, they did an incredible job. Not only is it the most powerful V8 engine Ferrari had produced, they increased the horsepower, so it has about 710 horsepower, and they reduced the weight by about 200 pounds. And those little tweaks and little improvements really make a huge difference when you're driving these cars, especially when you're driving them how they're supposed to be driven, fast. The weight reduction, they have added so much carbon fiber to this car. I mean, it's everywhere. They even did a Lexan rear window to reduce weight and little tweaks to the suspension and track focused performance to where this car is just, it's comfortable to drive on the street, but it's also a track focused monster. To give a little example of just how incredible the engine on this Pista is, out of all the supercars and hypercars and amazing cars that are available on the market today, it is the 488 Pista that won the International Engine of the Year award when it came out, just to go to show just how awesome this car is. And to get into a little more of the details of it, so Pista actually means track, to emphasize not only Ferrari's long heritage of dominance in motorsports, but also how this car is more track focused. And one thing I always find interesting about Ferrari is their naming system, so I have to give just a little explanation. I've said before in many of my videos, cars like 308s, it's 3 liters, 3.0 liter, 8-cylinder, or you know, the Daytona 365, it was 365 cc's per cylinder times 12 cylinders. So with the 488, it is not the same naming system like they used with the 308. Even though it's an 8-cylinder, it's a 3.9 liter, not a 4.8. So they actually reverted back to the Daytona and 250 kind of series style of naming, where it's 488 cc's per cylinder, and you multiply that by 8, and you get 3,900 roughly, so 3.9 liters. So that's the naming system, the name behind the Ferrari 488 Pista. Ferrari has always done data plates in usually the door jamb or sometimes the engine compartment of their cars, where it'll give you the month and year the car was produced, the serial number or VIN number, the basic information. But one of the things Ferrari has been doing over the last couple of years that I really like is the data plate in the front that not only shows the VIN and stuff like that, but also the option list. And that's really handy to have as both buyer and seller or owner for a lot of reasons. So first, on a car like this one, it's easy to look at the option list, compare it to the car, and see that everything is original, such as the wheels on this car are gold, and that is definitely not standard. So somebody might assume that the owner put aftermarket wheels on the car. But if you look at the data plate in the front of this car, you can see that not only under the option list it has the gold wheels, but there's actually a little list that says special equipment. And I'm pretty sure that's Ferrari's term of saying really expensive options, but the gold wheels are under that list. So you can see that this car came originally, I mean, it's a 2019, so not like somebody's gonna repaint it at this point, but you can take a look here. Even if you're just curious about what the name of the color is, you can see it's Rosso Scuderia, you can see all the options it came with, you can see everything how this car came out of the factory, which is really helpful, especially because so years back, you used to have to look at the window sticker to get all that information. And the window sticker is a loose piece of paper. A lot of times it would get lost throughout the years. So having it on a nicely labeled data plate right in the front of the car is really helpful. Sitting in the car, it's such the perfect mix of luxury and comfort, but also you definitely get that race-focused feel about it, from the race-style seats to the carbon fiber just everywhere. The steering wheel, the dash, door panels, everywhere is either carbon fiber or Alcantara. And one of the options on this car that the owner did that I think is a really nice touch because it makes it stand out a bit, but at the same time it's a very subtle touch, is a lot of this is the dark blue color. So it may look mostly kind of like a gray black, but when you look close, you realize it's not. It's just a very nice blue tone to it that makes it more unique than your typical kind of red tan or red black. So instead of the Rosa Corsa over Nero or, you know, over tan, it's the Rosso Scuderia with the blue Scuro interior with nice white contrast too. So it has the white here and in the seats. And it even has, this was an option too, it has the Italian flag colors right here on the steering wheel. So it just makes it stand out a bit. But there's a couple things that Ferrari did to this car to make it still comfortable, but at the same time track focused. So one of the things to make it look a little more streamlined is there's no glove box on the passenger side. There's just the little kind of pockets in the doors to put extra stuff. So it gives it a very sleek kind of look. And sitting here, the seats are comfortable. It's very spacious. At some point, I'm gonna have our roommate, tall man, sit in the car, see if he can fit in here at 6'7". But me at 5'7", I fit perfectly comfortable, and I have so much headroom that I know taller people than me can fit in here with no problem. The Pista is an excellent mix of performance and luxury, and the 599 is one of my favorite GT Grand Touring Ferraris, but the biggest downside of most 599s, all the F1 transmission 599s, is the transmission. It's a little bit lurchy, and now it's not nearly as bad as say the 355 was, but it still has that bit of lurchiness, and that's never fun when you're driving at low speeds. At high speeds, not a big issue. It shifts smooth, but they're made to go fast. So at low speeds in traffic or around town, it's not always the most comfortable drive. You can get used to it. You can put it in paddle shift and it gets a bit smoother once you get it down, but Still, it wasn't until the F12 where they came out with the dual clutch transmission, and there's no lurchiness. It's amazingly smooth, just like this car. So it is so comfortable and smooth in transitioning between shifts, and I love it. And then another thing is new cars all have that automatic turn off button where when you come up to a red light or something, the car shuts off to save gas. And I've always hated that feature. If I want to turn my car off, I'll do it myself. So usually you'll be able to turn that feature on and off in a lot of cars, but some cars I found that you have to go into the computer system, like flip through the settings and turn it off every time you get in the car and want to drive somewhere, which is really obnoxious. But on this car, it does have that feature if you want to save gas, but if you don't like that feature like I don't, there's a button up here right by the little dome lights, and it will turn off that feature and it will keep it off. So I hit that button once and I haven't had it do the turn off when it starts again, even when I've started and stopped this thing a couple of times. So I really like that they added the ease of that button. They really, I think they knew that their customers are not too inclined to have their car shut off for them. So I always appreciate the ease of that option to turn it off. Ferrari took everything they learned from their 488 Challenge and 488 GTE and their success on the track and applied it towards the Pista. So it has a lot of those little suspension and aerodynamic improvements that just make it that one little step better, that much more user-friendly, but at the same time, because part of what they did too is the suspension and traction control, they did a lot of improvements because this car is so powerful. They wanted some kind of safeguards in place to help if somebody overdrove a little bit, and got themselves in some trouble. There's some technology in the car that can actually really help you when you're in that kind of situation, which is always a nice thing to have. I've driven lots of old cars without any kind of traction control or anything like that. And if you make a mistake, there's nothing there to save you. So having those little improvements in such a powerful car definitely makes a big difference. But one of the things they took from their racing and applied it towards this car, not so much an actual aerodynamic or anything improvement, but a little touch that I really like is right down here. So this little brake light is actually taken, the design is taken from Formula One. So if you look at F1 cars down here, you'll see, or on the rear of F1 cars, you'll see the exact same kind of little dotted brake light or rain light, and they've transferred that to some of their newer cars like the Pista, which is just a nice little throwback to their racing heritage. While I know I have definitely said in many of my videos that I love the older cars because of the soul to them and their history, and I stand by that statement. I really do mean that. I love the older cars, but that doesn't mean that I can't appreciate and love the new cars too, for different kinds of reasons. So basically, the older cars are what made the history. But with a car like this, bringing in some of those little touches like the F1 taillight and little things like that that bring the history of Ferrari into the modern day, I really appreciate that. Plus, at the same time, when you drive something like a Daytona, it gives you a workout. You got to work at it. Where there's always a time and a place and something very nice about the luxury of a new car where you have over 700 horsepower, but at the same time you can have the AC blasting and the radio going and be in complete comfort while driving it. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds of performance and of luxury, and overall, especially if it's a car that you're going to be driving a bit more, or you want to drive further and be comfortable while driving, the new cars like the 488 Pista, it will get you where you're going in comfort, luxury, and as fast as you want it to. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe and stay tuned because we got a lot more coming very soon.